Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into something a little bit different today. We're slowing things down, way down, talking about those leisurely pursuits.
Ah, yes, those hobbies then.
Exactly, the kinds of things you can really lose yourself in. And for this deep dive, we're looking at this article called Why Slow-Paced Hobbies Are Crucial for Relaxation. Embracing the Art of Leisurely Pursuits.
Catchy title.
Right. So we'll be exploring how these hobbies can, well, help us relax. I think we all know life can get pretty hectic.
It can be a bit much sometimes, I agree.
And you're probably wondering about what the actual benefits are and, what are some slow-paced hobbies you can actually try.
Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
Exactly. And there's actually a pretty interesting twist here. It's not just about relaxation. These hobbies can actually boost your brain power.
That's right. And even improve your physical health.
I know, right? I was surprised too. Okay, so let's get into it. The article really emphasizes how, with our modern lives being so busy, these slower hobbies are almost essential for, well, just being okay.
Yeah, it's like they act as a counterbalance.
Mm.
A way to kind of hit the pause button on everything for a bit and just let our minds and bodies, well, restore.
It's not about being unproductive, though,
No,
right?
not at all. It's more about recognizing that these leisurely pursuits, they really do have power.
Okay, so it's more about the journey, so to speak.
I like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about that journey these activities provide.
Mm.
And, it's a journey of calm, a journey of focus. And when you really think about it, the potential benefits are huge. We're talking about reduced stress, less anxiety, better focus, mindfulness, heck, even better sleep.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so let's get into some specific hobbies then. I've always been intrigued by gardening. There's just something about connecting with nature, like being in the dirt and watching things grow.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to mention that sense of accomplishment. You're nurturing something and then watching it flourish.
It's like a little miracle right in your backyard.
Exactly. And all that sensory engagement, feeling the soil, smelling the plants, it's all very grounding and promotes mindfulness.
And for those of us who maybe prefer to stay indoors, there's always knitting or crocheting.
Oh, definitely. That rhythm, that repetition can really help lower anxiety. It's almost meditative.
It's funny you don't think about your hands moving in such a repetitive way being relaxing, but it is.
And you end up creating something beautiful and tangible, which adds to that sense of accomplishment.
I can see that. Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about jigsaw puzzles. I have to admit, I used to think they were a bit, I don't know, boring.
I understand that,
Yeah,
but they're surprisingly relaxing.
I've heard that.
Your mind is focused on a single, non-stressful task. It's like a form of meditation. And it can actually improve your spatial reasoning and problem-solving skills.
Who knew? And there's that great feeling when you finally place that last piece, right? Like a little victory.
Definitely. A sense of completion.
All right, for those of us who need to work on our patience, what about bird watching? I'm not sure I have the patience for it, but I do love being outside.
It's a wonderful way to connect with nature. And it teaches you patience and mindful observation. And you don't need fancy equipment or a remote location. You can do it anywhere.
That's a good point. Just look out your window and see what's around. And for the artistic folks out there, there's always watercolor painting.
Yes. It's such a gentle and forgiving medium.
Yeah.
And the focus is on the process, not the outcome. It's all about letting go and seeing what happens.
I like that. No pressure to be perfect.
Exactly. And speaking of letting go, let's move on to hobbies that double as mindfulness practices. Things like Tai Chi.
Ooh, that's always fascinated me.
Tai Chi is a beautiful example of moving meditation. It combines slow, deliberate movements with breath control. And studies have shown that it can improve attention span and working memory.
It really does look so peaceful. And of course, there's always the more traditional mindfulness practices like meditation.
Yes, and mindful breathing. They can become very rewarding pursuits.
So it's like training your mind to be more calm and resilient.
Right. Exactly. And for something that combines physical postures with mindfulness, there's yoga.
Ah, yoga, classic relaxation.
There's so many different styles of yoga. But for pure relaxation, gentle or restorative styles are wonderful. They help release tension, improve flexibility, and encourage deep breathing.
It's all about that mind-body connection, isn't it? Speaking of things I love, let's talk about food. Some slow-paced culinary hobbies, like bread making, for example.
Ah, bread making. There's something so satisfying about the whole process, from mixing the ingredients to kneading the dough to the aroma of fresh bread filling your home.
And then that first bite of a warm slice, heavenly.
It engages all your senses, and it's a lesson in patience.
Now, for a truly mindful experience, there's always the tea ceremony.
The tea ceremony is all about slowing down and savoring the present moment. It's a beautiful ritual for finding inner peace.
And you can do it alone or with others.
Exactly. It's very versatile.
Hmm.
And for something a bit more hands-on, what about herb gardening and drying?
I do love fresh herbs.
It's a wonderful way to connect with nature. You get to enjoy the process of planting, tending to your herbs, then drawing and storing them, and you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor for months to come.
Okay, so we've explored all these amazing slow-paced hobbies, but let's be realistic. Life is busy. How do we actually find the time for all this?
Well, the article gives some really great tips. First up, create a relaxation corner. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a dedicated space in your home where you can go to unwind and engage in your
A
hobby.
little retreat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A place where you can easily access your supplies, maybe have some calming music or a diffuser.
I love that. And the next tip is to actually schedule slow time, which sounds so obvious, but how often do we really do that?
Right. We tend to prioritize everything else, but the article makes a really good point. Treat those hobby sessions like you would any other important appointment.
Put it on the calendar.
Exactly. Even if it's just for like 15 minutes at first.
Start small.
Yes. And then you can gradually increase the duration as you get more comfortable.
And the last tip is all about being mindful while you're actually engaging in your hobby.
That's where the real magic happens.
Right. It's about really being present in the activity.
Avoid multitasking and just savor the process. Don't rush to the end and, take a moment to appreciate how it makes you feel.
I can see how that would make a big difference. But how do these slow-paced hobbies, actually work? What's the science behind it?
Well, they tap into our parasympathetic nervous system. That's the system responsible for rest and relaxation.
So they help us calm down.
Exactly. And that has some really great effects on the body. Studies have shown that these hobbies can lower our heart rate and blood pressure, reduce those pesky cortisol levels, and even improve sleep quality.
So it's not just about feeling more relaxed. It actually makes us healthier.
It does. There's even some research suggesting that it can boost our immune function.
Wow, that's impressive. The article also mentions something called flow. Can you explain that a bit more?
Flow is that feeling of being completely absorbed in an activity. Time just seems to fly by. You're totally in the zone.
I love that feeling. It's like everything else just fades away.
Exactly. And slow-paced hobbies are great for inducing this state of flow, which, by the way, leads to increased feelings of happiness and fulfillment.
Makes sense. I bet the sense of control and mastery that we experience in these hobbies also plays a role.
Oh, absolutely. It's empowering to feel like you're creating something,
Yeah.
learning and growing. And let's not forget about the power of having a healthy escape from the stress of everyday life.
Sometimes we just need a break.
We do. And through all of this, we're also cultivating mindfulness.
That ability to just be present.
Right. And that brings us back to the idea that these hobbies are so much more than just ways to pass the time. They're tools for living a more balanced and mindful life, a more fulfilling life.
They're an investment in ourselves.
Exactly. And the beauty is there are so many options out there. Really, there's something for everyone.
So instead of asking yourself, what hobby should I try? Maybe the better question is, what brings me a sense of calm and focus?
I love that. It's about tuning in to what truly resonates with you, what sparks that sense of joy.
And if you're looking for more information about specific hobbies, make sure to check out the show notes. We've included some great resources.
Links to articles, videos, even some local classes and groups you can join.
Because sharing a hobby with others can be incredibly rewarding.
And you might even make some new friends along the way.
So we've taken a pretty deep dive into this world of slow-paced hobbies, and I hope we've inspired you to at least consider slowing down a little bit.
Remember, it's not about being unproductive. It's about prioritizing your well-being, finding those activities that truly nourish you.
And on that note, I encourage you to give yourself permission to just slow down, explore, discover the joy of just being. It's like giving ourselves the gift of time, isn't it?
It really is. And permission to simply enjoy the process.
And to just be. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of slow-paced hobbies.
I feel more relaxed already just talking about it.
Me too. Big thanks to our expert for sharing their insights and knowledge with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Hopefully we've given everyone some food for thought and maybe even inspired them to try something new.
Or to rediscover a hobby they'd forgotten about.
That's a great point. Sometimes the most relaxing activities are the ones we used to love as kids.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out those resources in the show notes. There's a ton of information there to get you started.
And remember, the journey to finding the perfect slow-paced hobby is just as important as the destination. So be patient with yourself, explore different options, and most importantly, have fun.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And until next time, remember to slow down, breathe, and embrace the joy of simply being.